There we go. Okay, we'll do this one.
Hey,
Hey,
I
way to get our
recognize that.
way to get our channel DMCA'd, bro.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's probably fine.
It's just the instrumental. They won't come after us.
You say that. But
That's
Taylor
you.
Swift is.
She's a savage, dude.
Yes.
She does not play games.
I don't like it. It's so bass. Well, hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the SVP Podcast. A lot of bass in this song. Today we have Brooks and Gary. And I think Brooks, all he can hear is the bass right now. He's probably trying to ask me to turn that down, so I'll just turn it off for him.
Yeah,
How's that sound?
that is
buddy?
exactly all I can hear. That is accurate.
Well, that's because
Yeah,
you got some
so,
really bassy headphones. But welcome to the podcast, guys. We've tried to reschedule this, how many times now? 3?
It's been a couple of times.
Yeah.
Every time. It's
So-
I do take the primary blame for it. I think I made the executive decision on a couple of occasions because we were both ill-prepared and Nate has another newborn. So.
Yep.
How disappointing is it to postpone a podcast to watch a team lose by over 40 points? Let's talk about that real fast.
That was rough, man. That was really rough. However, that is not in the itinerary for, so we will discuss that at a different time. Thanks.
So I'm really excited to be here. This is I think this is long overdue. I love doing these, and we've done 2 now. So this is our 3rd one. And again, we have a chat, so we are reading the chat. If you have questions during the show, definitely please ask, and I will definitely we'll answer those. I'll be reading it mostly. I think Gary probably has it up as well. We do have a show line. I haven't put it up yet. I haven't decided if that's something we're gonna do yet. We'll see how everything goes. If anybody wants to call in, and that's pretty much about it. So, Brooks, why don't you take it off? Take it off.
Take it off.
Yeah, take it off.
Not,
Start with
not
the shirt.
type of show we're doing here today.
Start with the shirt,
Alright.
and
No.
we'll see how we
Okay.
feel.
So yeah, we do have a set, I guess, itinerary of things that we want to stick to today. I know that some of that casting feedback is that we'd want it to be more concise, and that's something that we talked about before we even read any feedback. But we want to go ahead. We want to keep these things to an hour and a half tops. We want to make sure that we're talking about things of substance and not just talking about whatever. Which, I mean, it was fine for when we did it before because, the purpose of those were not similar to the purposes of what we're going to be doing now with the podcast, where we're going to try and do them once a month. So, as far as what we're going to talk about today, going to talk a little bit about some of the overall trends that I saw with some of the feedback from the forms that I asked you guys to fill out a while ago. Still working my way through those interviews and things like that. It's going pretty well. Just going to talk about that. Gary's going to maybe touch on some of the things that we're going to look to do with the production team moving forward. We're going to talk about what some team shakeups and program restructuring may or may not look like. And let's see, going to talk about the 2v2 tournament. For those of you who came into the stream on time, you saw the banner that Munchie made right there on the front. We'll put that back up once we go to talk about it. Gary and I might talk about Denver a little bit because that was a lot of fun. And then I'm just going to go ahead and touch on some things in SVP that you should go ahead and look into. And yeah.
Cool.
So I think that's the game.
Very nice. Yeah, man. I'm excited to do this, and let's get it going. Oh, did I just lose you
Rocket back
guys?
to the beginning.
What was that?
What was
Ooh, you guys disappeared and came
A
back
little bit of a lag spike on Archer's screen.
on
That's what
Archer's screen.
Okay,
I don't know if that was me or if that was you. I'm gonna
It
blame
was you.
It's all Gary.
Your voice went all robotic.
It's all Gary.
I think we're good now. Okay.
Do
all
you
right.
hear an echo, Nate?
You guys good?
Oh, you gonna start with the echo thing again? If anybody knows me and Gary, every time we play together, he accuses me of having an echo, which I blatantly do not have an echo. Yeah, That's it. So I'm going to move forward because I want to kind of get the show on the road, so to speak.
Yeah. sounds
So
good.
the first thing I see on the notes here, Brooks, is individual interviews / broad results.
Yeah. So some overall trends from, I guess, all those feedback forms. So pretty consistently across all of the teams, a large, overwhelming majority of the players in the program feel like they have improved since joining the program and since the start of the season, which is really great. There were a handful of people who felt that they haven't improved, and for over 90% of those guys who said that they haven't improved, they felt that that was solely because of the lack of time that they put in themselves. Uh, so that's, I guess, a good thing that for people who have been putting in the time, uh, together and
Well,
what we've been working on,
and
they
I
feel
could
like they've
agree
been
with that
making
though
gains, which are
too,
good.
because I mean, you
Yeah.
think about it. I mean, you put time into something, you should get better eventually if you're actually taking that
That's
time.
what I want. Yeah, and I mean, for the people who haven't been able to put in the time, of course, I understand like life is busy and they have no pressure from me or
Yeah, it's
anything
not a
like
big
that.
deal. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, like I was just saying earlier before we started the actual show, it was kind of really tough for me to get my team together. To actually be on the same page to play together. Like me and Noni would always get on, and then we'd maybe have a third guy on our team be able to play, but we would never actually have a full team. So it was really
Mhm.
hard to practice and and get better together as a team. Individually, I think we can say that we've gotten all a little bit better, but yeah, it's just about taking that time.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. It's always going to be how much you put in. So I mean, if you're putting in an hour a week, you can expect to get an hour a week better. If you put in 10 hours a week, you expect to get 10 hours a week better. And
Assuming you're putting that time in,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, and like having good practice and making sure that you're working on the correct things. But as it always goes, like your coaches can only take you so far. Everything,
Yeah.
you have to
Definitely.
apply your learnings into actual gameplay
Yep.
and practice. Every team practices,
And I
and
see
that's the
something on here about subs.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't touched on the rest of the thing, but as far as like the note for subs there, the note on subs was that we weren't really sure coming into the program, starting it up, how we wanted to handle possibly having subs or not having subs, and eventually we decided that, hey, with the season structure, we'll go ahead and we'll open up the option to have a sub or two max on a team who will participate in practices and things like that and become a part of the team. And we weren't really sure how that was going to look, how that was going to work out. And it seemed to be the case with nearly every team that having the sub was experience, that sub became pretty integrated with the team. I know that, I personally wasn't even sure of it until for Kitty Squad. Then we had Ace come on in, and that was, I was a little hesitant at first because Kitty Squad was pretty tight knit at that point, and I was worried about whether he, would fit in or whatever. Not like I had concerns about him and his personality specifically. I just haven't given it that much thought at that point. But he came on in, and now I can't imagine not having him. So I know for me, it's been great having sub on Kitty Squad. And Gary, you could talk about what your sub experience was like,
yeah.
but
So
it did
let's
seem
talk.
like all the subs have been having a pretty good time and felt like valued parts of their team. So I wanted to say that I'm happy about how that went.
Yeah, so like subs, I think were largely successful. I think it helped scheduling a lot. So because that's probably the biggest challenge we face right now is just making sure that matches are played on time, that we don't delay a week, 2 week, whatever, and having 6 available players for each team to play each week definitely helped. I mean, our sub definitely he got promoted into a leading role after a while, because turnover and stuff like that. But I think the subs, for the most part, is largely successful, and
Yeah.
I was really excited with how it turned out and how smooth that season actually went because of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, with a lot of the subs too, I think the average level of dedication that they showed relative to the average dedication that maybe some of the regular players who were on the full teams that expected to participate showed. Those subs were very very motivated to go ahead and put in some work. So
I agree with that.
that went really, yeah. So that was good. I want to talk about common. I guess like I asked each player, what they felt like their worst points are individually, and I just wanted to touch on some of the common ones. So I guess three of the most came up in
So you got a top three.
that
You want a
thing.
drum roll?
So,
Oh,
yeah, so
Yeah.
it was like 1v1 gunfighting and like people's shots, awareness, like overall like map awareness, and there's one more.
I can agree on the awareness piece of it. Sometimes you get so involved with what you're doing in that very moment, you don't realize like, oh, there's this guy doing this over here, or this person's over here. And then you're getting back smacked, or you got the other team's already got the flag halfway down the field to score it, and you're not even realizing what's going on. You're too busy in a fight or whatever else you're doing. So yeah, I can understand that. That's a
And
very common one.
if you're having trouble with map awareness, don't think you're alone, because that's by far the hardest thing to learn. in
Yeah.
Halo.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
And like that's what really separates the Onyx players from the other players, is just the fact that they know what's happening on the map at all times. Like, because me, Brooks, we don't have the best shots in the world, but it's just our map awareness and the plays. Like, plenty of people. I mean, people on my own team have a better shot than me, and it's
yeah, true.
but the map awareness is really what puts us in a better position to win games. And that's just a thing where playing massive amounts of Halo helps, and playing massive amounts of good Halo, competitive Halo 4v4 teams is what's going to help.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that
I think
so I mean the awareness piece is definitely something that comes with, like you're saying, comes with time and experience. And it's very difficult to try and do something like that on the front end while you're still worrying about learning how to watch the kill feed, thinking about how to play the objectives in certain situations, worrying about your shot and your positioning on the map. You always have to be able to do a number of these things subconsciously so that you could focus on some of the more complex things. That's something I'll say pretty regularly. So as far as like awareness and like knowing where your team is and like trying to know where the enemy team is based off of like spawns and how long everyone's been alive, that's something that you can focus on a little more once all of the rest of those things become second nature. So for the people who have listed that that they're having issues with map awareness right now, I think it's just a matter of time, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on an individual basis. But we talked about shot. So like people's 1v1 abilities. And then the third thing that I was missing was that some people, like, they're overly aggressive and they're just like challenging things that they shouldn't, or getting caught by themselves. So as far as like working on your 1v1 ability, I know for me, one thing that really helped my ability to handle things in one-on-one situations is that historically I've played a lot of free-for-all. And I grinded it out like to champ a while back, and it's free for all. Yeah, I think it's important to look at it like a tool, right? So even if you're not necessarily winning the games, that shouldn't be the end all of understanding whether you're getting value out of it, or you spawn with 5 other people on the map. Based on how that game's going to go, the guys generally who steal the most kills are going to be the ones who take that W away. So it's just a matter of taking it for what it's worth, playing the game, trying to put yourself in good positions without exposing yourself too much, or if you are in a one-on-one gunfight, trying to position yourself in that gunfight so you're not getting shot from different angles across the map, that you're not getting tunnel vision on that one guy. And free-for-all has been really good for me historically because it necessitates that you're very efficient and decisive in your movement and your decision making, because if you're too slow on doing those things, or you do those things poorly, then the games are going to be very, very difficult for you.
And let's touch a little bit more on that subject of like what good practice actually is. So there's this common misconception of when you're playing scrims, you're scrimming to win. Like when you're in a scrim series, your objective is not to win the scrim. Your objective is to work on what you need to work on. And I think this is a huge thing that you see. That's a huge misconception in the pro scene. Even is
I would say, yeah, you see that with pro teams.
yeah, like pros will have like people will say how good pro teams are based on the record series of a scrim. Like Optic loses 5 maps to Envy. Oh, Optic's worse than Envy. But like, what's to say that Optic isn't wanting to lose those games and get better? Because how is a team supposed to learn how to break hills if they're never giving up those hills? So I think that it's harder to do in Halo, but in Call of Duty, I know it's a really common thing where people will put themselves out of position just so they can practice breaking hills, just so they can practice what it feels like to win when you're losing, like to win when you're actually losing, because that's the hardest time to win is when you're under full control, when everything's going right for the other team. Like, how do you break those hills? How do you get those kills that you need to get? And those are the hardest things to learn. So when you're going into practice, you have to identify your weaknesses, and that's what you're working on. Like, what's the point if your best thing is to play break strongholds with this setup and you win every single time when you have this setup? What's the point of going into a scrim series and playing exactly like that when you know that's going to work for you? Like, you should be looking at, hey, when we're in this position, we're getting hurt, so let's work on this instead of that. And that's where good practice really brings into, and that's what separates, I think, like pro teams like Optic compared to the other ones, is because they're going to let other teams get that bottom mid or get this hill just so they can try out different variants of how to break those hills. And good practice is something that's really hard to come by. So it's identifying how to have good practice, especially when your coach isn't there, is really important. So when you're playing 8, work on stuff that you're not confident in. Like, that's the perfect opportunity to have a chance to get yourself better by putting yourself out of comfort levels.
Yeah, and I mean, just to like piggyback off of that a little bit, you know, you talk about playing the game in a fruitful manner versus just playing the game. So if you're playing the game and you're just kind of going through the motions and not really thinking about what you're doing, you're not really going to get any better by just playing more. Because the only thing that can get better by just playing the game without thinking about it is maybe your mechanical skill. But for most of you guys at the program who have been in here for a while, your mechanical skill is pretty good. And really a big part of it, I think, is some of the next level stuff. And this is a conversation that I had with Lexi the other day, is that he struggles with being consistent in having good positioning and certain things like that. And I told him, I'm like, you play the game absent-minded most of the time that you're playing it. You're playing it a lot, but you're not thinking about what you're doing. If you get to a point where you're thinking about what you're doing regularly, you're going to be doing a lot better on a more consistent basis. And just since we had that talk a couple of weeks ago, you know, he's already gotten a lot better in these last couple of weeks, especially because I know that he already knows all the things he's supposed to be doing. It's just that he doesn't push himself mentally to apply those things in the day-to-day.
And a good rule to live on, so not to interrupt, but a good rule to live on is playing Halo or playing any competitive game is a lot like writing a novel or something like that. Like, everything has to have motivation or like filming a scene. Like, when you're setting up a scene in a film, everything that a player does, everything that a character has motivation. Like, there's like, if somebody's moving across there's motivation behind them doing that, and you need to make sure that you know what motivation is. As soon as you're doing something on the map that you don't know why you're doing that, then that's when you're having a problem. Everything that you do, every play that Brooks makes in a game, he's going to have a motivation behind that, whether it's trying to get behind a player, getting higher ground. He's not going to move to P2 if there's no reason for him to move to P2, or he's not sure. Every single move that you make in a game has to be motivated, and you have to realize, and you have to ask yourself, what is your motivation when you're making those moves? And that's a good thing to do when you're in film sessions.
And I'll tell you that, you know, there are times where sometimes, especially if I'm in like a chill mood or a game is going well, sometimes I will just do things for no reason. And when those things happen, I would say a majority of the time they don't work out well. And I think that's for good reason. Yep, just like you're saying. So don't want to dwell on that for too long. But as far as 1v1s go, I think that there's some benefit to playing things like FFA a little bit more. You know, just 1v1s in general, Octagon, things like that. Work on your shot. It's pretty hard to have a consistent shot if you're not playing regularly. So I feel like if you're playing consistently and you're running Octagon regularly and you're doing pretty well in FFA, your shot should be pretty serviceable at that point. And if you feel like it isn't, then go ahead and we'll just let one of us know, and we'll go ahead and we'll get to the bottom of it. So that's that. As far as like a couple of other quick notes on the interview stuff, there are a lot of like overall positive feelings about everyone's program mates and experiences, which is good.
What do you think the most negative
very-
one was? What was the most common negative one?
Negative comment as far as like the program
Yeah,
goes,
I want to know.
or
I always like to know what the negative ones are
program
too.
overall.
Yeah, it makes you better.
So I think that the biggest, I guess, negative experience that's going to be kind of a complex one to tackle are some of the people who had negative experiences on their teams, both with their teammates
I was
and
gonna
their
say.
coaches.
So it's more
Where they felt
like
like-
with people getting along.
Yes, yeah. So not even
Okay.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, the getting along part is part of it, but also, coaching is difficult, right? Us who are coaches in the program.
Well, especially if
The
you
way
have
that
Gary
we
as your
got
coach.
here is just because we were good at the game and we wanted to help people. We're not professional coaches, except for SBA, who is very good at it. He's kind of a pro, but for the rest of us, it's a learning experience. Every day that we go ahead and we help you guys out. So there's some people whose coaches have been a little slower in being able to pick up and help and things like that. Not for a lack of effort or anything, but the help that certain players are getting is just not turning into results quite like it should for the time that they're putting in. And I think that's something that's pretty difficult, is that we don't have as many coaches as we have players. And I think that we're going to have some of those experiences. So I think that's probably like the negative feedback that stands out to me the most, as being, I guess, some of the most like difficult to deal with, just because it's like a complex problem with a few different layers. But that was a cool.
It's just
Yeah,
good to know.
that's-
It's just good to know. I was just curious.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all going to vary from individual basis. And that's like a good reason. Like season 1, even though it was, in my opinion, it's really good. It was a really great learning experience for us, like higher, because now we know which players are going to prosper more. Gotta get that word out.
Yeah.
Prosper more under different coaches, and that's I guess that can segue into our next one, team shakeups. But like we're gonna have like things are gonna change. Like players that aren't doing well on their teams for certain reasons are gonna move to different teams, and like teams aren't set in stone. And like once again, like we always have to explain while we're here, just because your team's winning a lot doesn't mean that you're subject to not being changed or anything like that. Team shakeups are probably going to happen to a lot of teams, and it's for the best of all the players on the team.
I have a question though,
Yeah.
and you probably don't have it yet. So I'm gonna ask this: do you have the teams in mind already?
Oh, what, like team changes?
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Not yet. I mean,
So
there's some that are.
I have an
kinda
idea.
set in my head.
What we should do is when we do actually have the teams etched in stone, we should
Big
do like
release.
a live broadcast
We will.
of what teams are what. We'll have the pictures up with like the names and all. That'd be so much fun.
We'll make hype videos for each team.
Yeah, we'll do. It'll be like an ESPN NFL thing. It'll be great.
Like a draft. Oh, gee.
I would love it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Or we could just have the coaches.
Oh,
do a
we'll
fantasy
see.
draft
That
of
means
all the
no.
players.
Every time my mom used to say "we'll see" when I asked her for something, it meant no.
All right. So I guess we can kind of move on to the next point. If anyone had any, like, do you guys have any questions from either of you, just like personally about like feedback stuff? before
Yeah.
we
So
move on to
the
a different
chat.
point?
Any questions you have, feel free to start asking.
Yes,
Yeah,
I-
definitely.
I have a
Give them
question
about
for you.
Yeah, please.
30 seconds for them to respond though, because the
What was
stream's
some
a little-
negative feedback that came back that wasn't about teams? That was more about our organization as a whole, how the tournament, how the season was ran, stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't pertain to the team, but rather pertains
Sure.
to the program.
Yeah. So one thing off the top of my head is I know that some people were asking that they would have liked to see a longer season, or a season whose matches had, I guess, more meat to it. So like best of sevens on the regular.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
So I mean, that was something that obviously we had we had a lot of discussion coming into the first season to discuss why we were doing best of threes for Bravo and why we're doing best of fives for Alpha. And as far as like the length of the season goes, for some of the people who have mentioned it, it's like, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world where everyone has all the time, that they want to put into Halo, like that's great. But hey, we played a 5-week season, and we saw all the time that a lot of players have already taken off just from those 5 weeks.
I
that
think it
they
was because it was during the
just went out.
summertime, though. You got to think about that. So if you can try to keep it away from like the holidays and keep it
Yeah.
like away from the summer, like more like that winter, that like January to like March or April, like like you'll be fine. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So the thing is just so with the season, right? And there's a conversation to be had about whether that type of structure for the program, where we're having a game every week and structured teams, is even the best structure that we could have.
Mm.
That's the discussion I think we can get into just a little bit later, because that was on my notes to talk about structure shakeup possibility. But as far as like length of the season goes, it's pretty difficult to implement anything longer than that too, because like the availability is tough. The life in general is just kind of unpredictable. The thing that's nice about having a shorter season, especially for our first season, it was nice for it to be short, is because it allowed us to take this time after and take the time to pick it apart and learn from that, right? And it's really difficult to do that. It would have been difficult to do that just halfway through. So if we're playing a season with like 10 games or something like that, that's 2.5 months.
No, that's true.
So it's pretty tough to take the time to restructure anything or make some changes like that.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to bring up. Is like people say that the season was short, but I don't think they realize like how long the season went on when it actually started. Because I mean, it was more than a month, and a month is a good chunk of time. And having we got to find. We're trying to find our. It feels as if the season went on for a good amount of time, but we don't spend we don't spend 3 months running one season, and that we still need to keep it efficient. And then I guess we can talk about what AJ just said in the chat.
It's not a real question, man.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's because people have problems with it. Like, at what point do we tote the line of disrespect and just having? And I know a lot of people have problems with me because I like to teabag the crap out of anybody that kills, especially if their name starts with LLL. But I think most people have to that most teabagging stuff happens not because people hate you, and it's like everything. Like
it's
most
all
people,
for fun. Come on, when you
yeah,
play a
it's
video,
all for fun. But if you ever have a problem, one, talk to your coach. Two, talk to them. Talk to people around them, and make sure you clear up those situations.
And you cut out for a second.
I'm going to cut you off on answering that because A, was not a real question.
And I got you.
B, that was something that we discussed, I think, in that.
We did. It's always a good thing.
Little video that I did. It's on my channel for you guys to go look at that. It's like a short video. I can go ahead and link that to anyone who's curious about stance on teabagging and SVP. What the official stance is.
My stance is it's for fun, and I'd like to see more of it.
It's
I would like to see every kill.
Okay, let's just move on.
So yeah, as far as like seasons, yeah, okay. So yeah, we could talk about, I guess, some of the like team experiences. So some teams did really, really well. They have great chemistry. They were able to get together regularly. And everyone had really good learning experiences and made clear learning gains over the course of the season, which was great. Some of the teams were a mixed bag, where you kind of had a couple of active members and a couple of members that weren't as active. And that was really tough because it limited the ways a little bit that one of those more active players could benefit from the league structure or the structure of the season, because they are trying to work on things that you need a team to work on. So things like awareness or understanding the map meta or communication. And they really didn't get the same effort from a couple of their teammates as they were putting in. So it was difficult. Not that they can't like practice that elsewhere or anything, but just as far as the weekly match structure goes, they didn't really get this out of that. That some of the teams that they maybe would have if they had teammates that were more active. So that was a thing. And then some teams, it was difficult that they just really didn't have the time, like that their schedules didn't match up in the ways that it looked like they would. I know that one of those specifically that comes to mind is Baggage Down. It was really tough. I mean, they were kind of like last ditch type of effort. Like I wanted them to have the opportunity to play with one another because they were all motivated to do it. So I know that that one specifically was a stretch as far as scheduling goes, to try and get all those guys on the same page and practicing on a regular time. You know, one or two people's schedules change, and that's already, you know, half the teams. So yeah, there were some teams that, you know, for situations like that will require some restructuring. There are some teams who have maybe one player who's not quite up to the caliber of the other players, and that gap is a little big to overcome and continuing to play together, and that they might benefit and trying to work on some simpler parts of their game by being on a different team. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where you maybe have a player or two stand out on a team who really would benefit from some similarly skilled teammates that allow them to work on different skills.
That's always going to
for them
happen, though.
personally.
You're always going to have somebody who's
Yeah.
like a little bit lower on the totem pole or
Yeah, for
higher.
sure. So
Someone
it's just a matter of
always
making those
better
types of
than the
adjustments.
guy.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of making those types of adjustments.
Yeah.
Looking at each team and what each player needs. So yeah, that's about that.
I think Andy had a good question of
Yeah,
since it's so hard for us to get together, I mean, why don't we play games every other week, or maybe schedule 2 games within a week, but have the schedule, you know, be like every other week, like just switching up how the schedule works
And in between
general.
a practice
we
or
could.
something like that.
Yeah, we could. I think that there's benefit to that.
It kind of almost lengthens the season, but
Yeah.
also gives that practice in between.
Yeah, and
But the problem with
that was
Oh, I was gonna say the only thing that if we are even gonna try that, you know, there's different rules that are gonna come. We have matches then we're having set schedules, and if you're not there, you forfeit, because we can't afford to have games pushed back if we're gonna change the schedule to be that drastically different. And we're pretty lenient in season 1, and I think that might change depending on, because we can't have schedules. We can't, like, it's too much pressure on Brooks in general just to make sure that everything's going smoothly and that teams are playing their games. We might be cracking down on that a little bit. And this is all, I think we might have like a 2-week beta test of like different ideas, send them around to the program in general and see how people react to those. But in general, we have to make sure that any changes are made without that aren't made hastily, and that we have to explore everything that comes with it and explore how to make sure that everything goes down to its best of the best of its ability.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's another benefit to maybe doing it every 2 weeks too, that you do get more practice time, because I know that a drawback of having a match every week is that for those teams who could only get together for once or twice a week, that's one of those 1 or 2 times right there. And they didn't have that opportunity to actually take the time to work on anything specific that they needed to work on. They were just playing games.
Yeah, I think Pseudo said something in
So
the
yeah,
chat.
and I see Pseudo's note here.
Yeah.
And one thing that just came to mind is because Pseudo had a really awesome idea in his feedback form, where he had made a scheduling suggestion as far as best of 5s, best of 7s, whatever we would be doing at that point, where the way that we would structure it in terms of maps and game types for each week is that maybe we would actually have just like a string of all the different game types, like game types and map combinations, and we'd go ahead, you'd do best of 5, you'd play 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, those different games. And then the next week of matches, maybe whether that's 1 week or 2 weeks after, you will actually have some rollover. So you're going to actually play. So in that first week, you know, let's say at the end of that series, we played Fathom, CTF, and Kali Slayer. Now, in that next set of matches, you'll have Fathom CTF and Kali Slayer to start out. So that is nice because it gives you some opportunity to work on those game types, take apart what went wrong, and try and actually fix some of those mistakes that you were making and get a chance to try that out against a different team, which is nice. And then because you'd be playing those game types again, for some of the people who have that competitive motivation in them, it would motivate them. It would provide some incentive to actually, let's say you're playing that best of 5 and you got 3-0'd. It might be good to go play those last 2 matches anyway, because you're going to be playing a different team in a couple of weeks. The first 2 matches of that set
Well,
are
that
going to be
and
ones that you could have already played. So it gives those teams incentives to actually finish out a full roll, get as much practice in as they could. And I thought that was an awesome
yeah,
idea.
I think that's great. And another thing to kind of keep in mind, Brooks, I don't know if you thought of this or not yet. What about possibly the team that we're going to play after you're done? Maybe during that scheduling, maybe they can block out a certain amount of time and they can just start playing 8s against each other and scrimming against each other right after their match to kind of keep on going. Because it is hard to kind of get teams together as it is to scrim sometimes. And if you already have a scheduled date to play against them, like you said, if we're going to finish out the next 2, why not say, hey, let's do it over again. Let's just keep on playing, and kind of it's up. I'm just saying it's an idea, and I'm just throwing it out there.
And we made that pretty clear that was an option for teams from the beginning. I mean, that first podcast we talked about it. And I think a large part of why that doesn't happen because if you have you have a group of 8 players that are teams ready to play, you should be playing as much as you can with those teams. But since we're playing for an objective to win, when teams lose or when they win, they don't feel that they need to play more, it's because they have a set objective that they're playing towards and they've hit their objective. So it's kind of hard to motivate players to play longer. That's going to come down to individual basis.
I guess it's kind of setting an expectation up front and saying, hey guys, this is the way we're going to do it. You're going to play your match, but because this is like a league to get better, hey, this is what's going to happen. You guys are going to start scrimming, and here's the next set of maps for next week. So why don't you start scrimming that, or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. It's just an idea. Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, it's not a bad idea. That's not. It's just there's reasons why it wasn't happening often. It should have happened, and we have to address those reasons, and we have to break the culture that's been established so far, and to make sure that players are getting good practice. Because I think that's a large thing that happened is that players can play a lot, but they're not having good practice, and they're not playing, and they're not using their time to the best of its ability when they have 4v4 happening. And we have to make sure that we break the culture of we're playing to win and we're playing to get better. And that's the culture that we need to establish in this program.
Yeah. No, I understand I understand exactly where you're coming from. We talked about that in the last podcast as well. And it's not about winning, it's about getting better.
Yeah. So that rolls us into our next point, in which we talk about the possible benefits of a different program structure. So this is something that I haven't really talked to any of you guys much about. Usually when we come into one of these podcasts, if it's something big like this, it's something that I've talked with the other coaches about already to kind of feel out how they felt about it, and then we'd go from there. But so program structure, right? So until now, we've kind of been rolling with, or plan to roll with, like a season type of structure where we have regular matches and practices and we have our teams. And the benefits of that is that there was some level of commitment. You kind of got to play with your team on a regular basis, week in, week out, which has its benefits. And you got to compete on a regular basis. And for the people who, come to this for a scratch a competitive itch, in addition to get better, that was a nice, structure for them. And it's a lot of fun. And you go ahead and you're playing against other teams, and I don't know, it's cool, right? Fun.
It is.
So the thing is that there are some drawbacks to that type of structure too. So that type of structure isn't something that lends itself to flexibility. It requires regular schedule. It requires that each team has both teammates who are similarly motivated and possibly skilled. There has to be some level of chemistry, both in logistics and personality wise. And you also need a coach who is not only knowledgeable about the game, but possesses the ability to actually help other players teach it, like to help teach it to them. And those are some difficult things, and not every team has that. And I think that the number of coaches that we'll have moving forward in the next couple of months might be even smaller than what we are. And that's a problem because the size of our player base hasn't decreased and possibly increased. So there are some drawbacks to that type of structure, which is a thing, right? So alternatives to that, and this is something that I had thought about before even starting the program as a possibility, and after some of the feedback about what people would like to see more, and some discussions that I've had with coaches on an individual basis, I'm contemplating the possibility of moving to a more of an event-based type of structure. So having very regular opportunities to play and get better in different ways. So doubles tournaments, fours tournaments, within the scope of the program. And that's nice because it allows us some flexibility. We could change the rules in and out as we feel like we need to. I think that there is some benefit to the coaches getting in on the action from week to week and setting examples in terms of gameplay. And it's nice that we'd be able to do that on, an event basis rather than trying to set an entire season's worth of rules that can't be changed. So I think that there's a lot of possible benefit to something like that that we are considering.
Yeah, and
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna go at our base. We have a system that can be used almost everything. I think what we do for the players, what we make more work on us to make this better, like a better experience for you guys. But at the very base level, bare bones, like the way that we have the structure set up, we can have it so we have, not that we are doing this, but we have it set up so we could have a way to have 1,000 players in a season. 1,000 players playing at once, and it would still work out. But you wouldn't get the individual experience that you like, and the coaches and everything like that would happen. But we have like a structure that's set up where we can expand on it and change things. But the bare bones level of how we've done it so far, I think, is great. And like now it's our time to really put flavor into it and see what sticks to the wall and what doesn't. And that's what we're going to experiment with in our like beta testing for the 2 to 3 weeks.
So this really you're looking to do instead of like a league structure, it's more like events.
Yeah, well, not necessarily that you have, the same teams that we have now, and then those teams will play in each event the way that it is structured. Because there's the possibility that maybe there's benefit to not even having teams in the same way that we have them now. And, that sounds drastic. And if you're having a great team experience, you don't have to freak out about me saying this, because if you benefit from where you're at right now with your team, I'm not going to tear you guys apart in the way that you are now. But I think that there is, some drawbacks to the team structure as we saw in the course of the season. Some teams got a little too into it, got hyper-focused on things like winning. We had some walls come up. And, since we've taken that time to go ahead and decompress and take a step back, you see the level of crossplay that's happening right now in LFG and eights, and everyone is having a good time playing together. And I'll be damned, for people to say, like, if you were to say that you see that level of collaboration, playing together during the season, I'd tell you you're full.
Yeah, like the experience that you guys had for this season, other than pro players and maybe some amateurs, they've never experienced having a team, having actual set schedules, playing, and being able to have the competition that you guys had. That's a very unique thing that you guys had because of the opportunities that this program created. And it's I think it's exciting what we've done like this first season. Yeah. And it's cool to see how transferable this can be and how long it can go, because we've had it set up in such a way that this can continue to live on even when me and Brooks are gone, and that we can really expand on this program if we wanted to. And I think right now this is a huge huge learning experience for everyone involved, and it really helps our coordination. There's a lot more to take out. There's a lot more that we take out from this program.
All right. Yeah, we could you cut on a little bit on there, Gary, but I got the gist of it.
But yeah,
well, I mean,
as far as like program size goes, I'm not really like pushing any sort of size. And I mean, if it stayed the same size or got smaller, like I don't really care. I like being kind of on this type of size now where it's small enough that I have the opportunity to talk to each player individually. And if we were to move to that event type of basis, the plan would be to have some sort of system in place where I'm in touch, or me or someone else is in touch with certain players, and we know what that player is working on, that month or 2 months or whatever, and we know what they're doing to try and take steps to get better at. And I think that type of focus is something that'd be really important if we're not going to have a dedicated, weekly match type of structure. So I just want to say that that's something that I'm considering, and whether it be move forward with that type of structure without the weekly match structure, or we do some sort of combination, there definitely is a focus for me to set up more regular events for you guys, because I think that there's a lot of benefit to playing more in those manners, whether it's like weekly 8s or like tournaments. That's stuff that I do want to go ahead and set up more regularly. And I've been saying, since we finished up the season, that I wanted to set those things up more regularly, and I haven't gotten to do that yet because still working on the coming through all the feedback and thinking some of this stuff out. But regardless, let's go ahead and get those things going. And that being said, I think it's a good time to talk about an event that we do have plans. So go ahead, and if you want to bring that image up, Nate.
It is up.
Again.
Is it up on the stream? But basically we're just gonna start diversifying ourselves. I think is the big thing to take away from that is like right now we've been so solely focused, like laser focused on the season structure, that I think it's good to have the ideas floating around to change how we are a little bit. But moving on, we got a 2v2 tournament, boy. 2v2s, let's go.
That's
2v2s. But yeah, Brooks, I mean, you really got the whole structure for this thing down, so I'm sure I'll let you go ahead and explain how this is going to.
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know. We couldn't really hear it. But
it sounded like screaming.
Yeah. Everybody who heard that will like it. It's all right.
Okay, so 2v2 tournament coming up. So obviously SVP only for this one. One thing that's a little bit different about this one is that coaches will be able to play in it. I don't think that we're going to let coaches team together this time. Coaches will team with players or whatever. And as far as like who you can team with, it's pretty open. So find someone on your team, find someone on a different team, find a coach on a different team, play with your coach, whatever. Whatever you guys want to do. Obviously, there's not like a big focus on like winning the thing. Like I know you guys like to win, you're competitive or whatever. But the thing to take away from these types of events, of course, the experience that comes with it, and being able to play a little bit. And even if there's like not prizes or anything, playing in something like a tournament where there is, bragging lights on the line or just competing seriously is good practice.
And with that being said, that is why we have a $2,000 prize pool tournament.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. Done with the joking.
Yeah, the thing with 2v2s that's nice, and talk about this a little more leading up to the tournament, is that what you can get as far as like a learning experience goes from doubles. So doubles is really nice, a game to go ahead and play and get better at, because there's a lot less going on than you have when you're playing HCS with a full team of 4. It allows you to focus on some of those teamwork aspects. It's kind of like learning to swim in a kiddie pool versus like being thrown in. Is nice.
I agree with you on that.
So with twos, it allows you to work on certain things like being aware of where your team is, communicating what you're doing, listening at the same time what your team is saying to you, as well as managing the game flow, responding to what the other team is doing, trying to pick apart their strategy while trying to enforce yours. These are all very complicated things that if you're by yourself, like playing a game of fours, whether with or without a team, it's a lot more difficult to try and focus on listening if you have three people talking to you. It's a lot more difficult to try and work on your awareness of where your team is when you have three other teammates. It's a lot more difficult to manage the game flow of a game when there's 8 players on the map versus 4, and when you're playing objective versus just playing Slayer. So the thing that's nice about doubles is that it allows you to work on some of those skills in like a more focused manner, which is really nice. So I think that there's a lot of good learning gains to be made here. We throw together preparation, participation in this tournament together with a little bit of film review. And I imagine that everyone who participates is going to be able to take something really good away from it. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun, man. So
Yeah, I
the date's
agree. That's
listed
exciting.
there. Nate, I think you had it up. I think the first date that we had listed
Yeah.
is that it would start.
It said December 2nd or the 9th if needed at 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, and we wanted to do 11 a.m. You guys can get involved. We don't really get the opportunity to do too much with them.
Those are both Saturdays, right?
Yep, both Saturdays. So I definitely want to get them involved with things as possible, just because they haven't had a lot of opportunity to play with one another recently. There's just not a lot of activity over either in the community or in here. So I want to get involved, and right now we have the 2nd planned. So the reason that we have the 9th as a tentative date is just in case something comes up on your guys' end where it seems like a lot of you guys are busy for one reason or another. We have a set date that we're going to push it back to. So let me know whether that will or won't work for you if you're planning on participating, whatever. You're going to have some more correspondence on this from me throughout the next week.
You should put a poll
about
out
pinging you
on
guys
the
and,
Discord.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun when we
Yeah,
get to that.
I'm excited. That was great.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Nate, you're gonna play with Noni, or you're gonna kick him aside,
I'm,
try and
I'm,
get someone to carry you to victory?
he's kind of like my go-to. We play doubles all the time together.
Yeah.
So
Dude, I'll tell you what though, what were we playing? Were we playing eights the other night?
Yeah.
Where me, you.
he's
Noni was there.
he. I don't know.
He was playing pretty good, man. He was looking good.
I think
don't
he
know what
took
he's
my
been
mojo
drinking,
because I've been
but,
playing horrible lately.
Yeah, it sounds like he's been pulling like a vampire move.
I was just
sucking
gonna
your
say
halo
that.
right out of you. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah. So Denver, huh? How was
Denver.
that?
Yes, Denver was a lot of fun, man. I'll tell you that. So for those of you who don't know, me and nearly all of Kitty Squad, me, Ryan, Lexi, Rick, Serious Killer is Rick, Ace, Coney, we all got the opportunity to go. We all flew out to Denver together, rented a nice Airbnb, and had a really good time. Cody, Fender 19, couldn't make it, but he was there in spirit. And dude, we had so much fun. And pleasant surprise is that Mr. Gary, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tools, also made his way over. And yeah, man, it was a really good time. So day one, I think I got there on, the event was like from Friday to Sunday. And
Yeah.
the squad got there on Thursday. And that was a lot of fun. I didn't really have any worries about like how because we really spent a lot of time together and have a lot of fun. I didn't think it was going to be weird, and it really was. Ace rented the squad mobile out, the gray hair discount. It was nice, and I got there, and him and Coney were already there. They picked me up, and they were freaking funny because they were hungry when they got off their morning flight. So they went, and there's like this gas station or whatever that's pretty close to the airport, and they had like these this like small Mexican fast casual type of restaurant in there. And they already ate, and I got there, and I was hungry. And they're like, you know what? We know a place. So we went back. I had it for the first time. They went in for seconds. And then we came back another time once the rest of the folks came in. It was pretty ridiculous. So had a lot of Mexican food there on that Thursday. A lot of farts going on that night. Serious killer. Seriously kill you with some farts, man. I'll tell you that.
I haven't done a tournament in like God knows how long. It was like
Yeah,
Halo
so
1 days. That's the last time I did one. It's
yeah, I
fun.
went to Daytona in the spring, and that was all right. It was pretty fun. I went with Xavier, who you guys Saltine Squad, who ended up being a sub for Me Pizza. The three of us, we made it out to Daytona. I had a pretty good time, but that really was kind of like a small open, and a thing with, and that was Halo only. So DreamHack Denver, had a lot of stuff going on, and then so I mean that brings us to Friday, the first day of the event, and we all went. We were squatted up, and Gary was there. And Gary, if you want to talk a bit about what we did on Friday and getting there and like the different things that they had at Denver, go.
Oh, you're cutting out on us, Gary. I can see your mouth moving, but there's no voice. Oh, I
He's
think
probably just talking shit anyways. So.
that's all he ever does. You know,
Yeah, Gary, I still don't hear you.
happens when you're a small
All right, let's
man.
just do it
Oh,
like
there
this.
you
You
go.
guys can probably hear me now.
I can hear you
Just
now.
moving on to this, but on Friday, let's talk about what 3 of the people did. Literally got on there, brought their Xboxes, set up their Xboxes, went to this flow all the way to Denver to sit in front of their monitors and play Halo 5 by themselves. No, but I thought that was really great. But there was like a lot of there was the tournaments that was happening in one building and a kind of like an expo that was happening in the other building, and there was just so much to do. I mean, we had a Madden tournament on Friday that Brooks took second in. I would have taken first if I would have gotten past Mark, but that I digress.
Yeah.
There was just the Halo tournament was the Open was starting on Friday. There was a lot of like booths that we went around to.
Did
and
you
I was
say
like-
you would have
and I
gotten
think-
first if you didn't lose?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That makes a lot of
For
sense.
sure. Ask Brooks. Okay, on Saturday.
If I didn't lose, I would have won.
On Saturday, me and Brooks had a little bit of a showdown in the
did, yeah.
in the lobby. There
In
was
the crib,
I think
we
around
did.
$100 on the line sitting on the table from various bets. And guess
Not
who came
$100.
out on top?
Oh, you know, 2 different people, yeah. All right, so the Madden tournament on Friday, a lot of people, and I ended up pulling second, which was pretty good because I only picked up the game like a week before. I used to play a lot, but
I
I
refuse to
got
play
out of
Madden
it
games
for, like, a
anymore.
couple of years. Got back into it just like for spring or whatever, fall break, and ended up taking second, which is like pretty sweet. There was like $150 dollar payout for me, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
And then yeah, so it comes to Saturday, and me and Gary hadn't gotten to play yet, so Gary is like, hey, $20 and we'll play a game on it. And, I want $150 for it, so I'm like, shit, even if you freaking beat me, that's still like $130 more I was planning on making. So then the real problem comes with everyone else who was hanging out around the crib and wanted to bet on the game, and it made it a lot more serious than it was, and Gary ended up taking me pretty seriously.
No,
I wouldn't say easily.
Easily. The easiest one I've ever had. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
Ezekiel Elliott ate those yards. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, jeez,
First
dude.
down. Oh,
Lucky that game wasn't longer. We're playing pretty
mean,
short.
that's
but,
why it's 4 quarters. I
Brooks,
don't
you
need to
should
play
have
for
Yeah,
enforced
man,
his.
that's how it is sometimes. You win some, you lose some.
Brooks,
and,
you should have
that's
enforced
good.
his suspension. You wouldn't have had that problem.
All I know is that
Yeah.
made me break even like that night because like all the money that I'd basically spent up to that point, I basically earned back from all the betting that happened.
To be fair, I did offer the double down because I was ready to go again for round 2 and you didn't want it. So we'll take that for what it's worth.
I could have just kept going to be honest, but
Yeah.
it was getting late. I could feel
Yeah.
we had to drive all the way back to Boulder. It was a long drive that I had to drive because he was a
Alright.
little tipsy.
So
but,
anyways, so yeah, then the event comes on Saturday, and what was that the start of the free? We went.
yeah, free for all was on Saturday. Yep.
There were hella buys had. I think Lexi made it to round 3 just through buys or something, and that was a lot of fun. The venue was really sweet. They had Halo, CS:GO, and what was the last one?
Quake. Yeah, Quake.
Yeah, so they had a lot of stuff going on. All the stages were pretty sweet, and
Quake.
so
Oh,
we were
that's
playing
awesome.
free for all on Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. There was a good variety of players. So you had a lot of players, like some of the guys on the squad who, they weren't gonna take the whole, thing or anything, but they just wanted to go and play and compete, and get some experience, and have a good time.
How much were they selling those
There were
shirts
some
for?
other players doing that too. So I think there was a good like attitude for everyone involved. I signed up under my alt, which is really fun. So they were like calling Taylor Swift out over the loudspeaker to come to Station 7 or whatever. And, like people were having fun with that. So that was a pretty good time. And they were having increasingly more fun with it the further that I went along in the free for all. So it got to like round 4, and they were still calling me, and people were like, "How is this skip not eliminated yet?" So that was a lot of fun, and I had a pretty good experience. On like my second to last round, I ended up taking second to like a Aussie girl named Mom, who I guess like she's a popular person in the Halo community.
She was pretty good.
I feel like any girl that
Yeah,
plays
she-
any
she
video
was-
game
she
is
was
for whatever reason popular in the community because all
it's
the
just
all
turned
the
this into a
kids
misogynist
get
stream
all
real fast.
excited.
She just happens to be very conventionally attractive.
All the
She was
kids
very
get
good.
excited.
She beat Brooks pretty hard. Brooks got beat by a girl pretty hard.
One
But,
kill in like both games, but yeah.
I guess that's why she went to round
Top
5
three
and you
advance.
didn't. But
Three
yeah.
advance. No, hey, top 3 advance. We both went. And then we
I
both
thought
got
that
out
was
in
the round
the
you got
second
locked out.
No, it was the next one.
No.
Yeah, that was rough.
She was cool though.
But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I still had a lot of fun.
Now, did you buy that
And,
T-shirt? Or did they give it to you because you played?
So they were
they-
like on the last day in the championships, they were like throwing T-shirts out, T-shirts and like other things. We got this T-shirt, and like there were other guys in the squad who got the same shirt.
Were they selling them
Lexi
too?
and I think Rick got
Uh,
like
I didn't see it. They were.
Next time
yeah,
you
they got,
go,
like hats.
next time
Okay,
you go.
Rick is a walking cheat code when it comes to throwing stuff into the audience. The dude's like
It's
6'8".
true because Rick is like 6'7".
Yeah, he jumps up and it's basically a insurmountable wall that they have to throw. He was catching everything and anything, bro. But
man. That's true.
I really wanted a hat. Didn't get a hat though. Though I did get a hat for the Quake event.
And for knowing what time it was in Germany for that time, which I credit to my SVP experiences, they gave me this watch. Can't see if I get an angle you could see. It.
Oh,
It's like a
that's
Halo
pretty
5 one.
cool.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. That was
Watch
that
that
was
he
kind of
went
fun
everywhere.
for knowing what time it was in Germany. Thanks to you, appreciate it. So that was pretty fun. And then the games were like a lot of fun, beautiful. It was a really nicely run event, and I know through that event there were a lot of issues with like ESL and how they were running events, and I think that a lot of people walked away from Denver and said, hey, if the events continue to go like this one was, then we'd be pretty happy with that.
I'm
'Cause
just
Denver was pretty
satisfied.
sweet.
Yeah, it was really well run. I don't
That
think
was
there
good.
were any delays or anything
I-
like that.
I had a burger with peanut butter and bacon on it. That was a beautiful thing. I think it was like Friday that the guys were gonna go out for dinner.
I love
and
burgers.
I wanted to work out, so I went to a gym or whatever, and they went to eat. And they come back in that night to back home, and they were like, "Hey, we had these burgers like peanut butter." And then I'm like, "Dude, I need to have one of those." And they're like, "All right, we'll go." That's what we did
Yeah.
on the day before we headed out. And I'll tell you what, dude, I had that burger, and I like really like burgers, and that burger, I thought it was gonna be weird because it's like peanut butter, on a burger, and they still had like their cheese and everything like that, everything else that comes on a burger. So I thought that'd be weird, and it felt like I was eating it my entire life. Like it just felt right. It really did. It was comfortable, and it was great. and I was
Listen,
glad that I did it.
Comfortable.
It was. And the
I guess
weirdest
that's why
thing,
they call it.
the weirdest thing is that I went to describe it this way, and the rest of them were just sitting there, because that is the exact conversation that they had, completely independent of me 2 days before.
I love burgers, and there's a place in Rhode Island that is phenomenal, and it's funny because it's a wings place, and I know the guys who run it, and I tell him, I'm like, man, you got like the best burgers in Rhode Island, and he's like, what about my wings? I'm like, they're good, but your burgers are way better. Sorry, they're just amazing. I can't even
Oh,
explain it. Any burger you get from them is just phenomenal. So I love burgers. Oh.
We went to a burger place downtown that same night, and downtown Denver was lit, but it was like he got I went with Chi-Town Ninja, who just
Yeah.
joined the program, Mark, if you guys know him, but he got like this burger that was like half hamburger, half chorizo, and then with like jalapenos on top of like feta cheese. It looked really good. I honestly forgot what I got, but it was really good. I really liked the place.
Speaking of chorizo, on the Sunday we also had. Apparently, Denver is known for breakfast burritos. So
Yeah.
there's this breakfast burrito place near us. I had like 5 stars. This little hole in the wall place because those are naturally the best. It was like Little Kitschy's Kitchen or something.
They always are. You don't want to go to
And,
those
you literally
chains.
order your food out of a window in this building, and dude, these fucking breakfast burritos were fantastic. They were like a pound each.
Wow.
Like they felt solid in your hand. And those are really good.
It's like eating a brick.
If you're ever in Denver, Little Kitschy's, whatever. It was like a restaurant or something.
Were you guys all
I don't know
sharing
what
the same
the
hotel
name
room?
was.
Nah,
No,
so
it was
they
an Airbnb.
they went to an
Airbnb, okay.
Airbnb, and then I was staying with Chi-Town, or AK.
I can see if I can find the link for you if you want to see pictures.
I was gonna say because that's a lot of farts and shit. That's
It
I'm all
was
set
like a
with
pretty
that.
big
No,
size
it was
place.
super comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
they
had
had
like a really big
and they had a
basement.
chicken and a duck in a coop out back. That was interesting. Didn't know that.
All I know is Lexi came downstairs with with his little legally bought weed and stunk the place up for about a solid half.
it was a little.
Lexi,
Ugh.
we had to open up some windows for this dude. But I mean, I think Denver, all in all, was a really great experience. It was really cool meeting a lot of people in the program, and like it didn't feel. I mean, we've all talked to each other so much that it didn't feel weird at all. Just
Nate.
see somebody.
I just put a link in there in the Discord DMs. Is that an okay place, or you want me to send it somewhere?
Why don't you put it in our Hangouts?
Yeah, I got you. I'll put it in the Hangouts for you.
Thanks.
Okay.
I'm going back to the Hangouts chat right now.
But I think we're running a little bit long.
No, we're still.
Yeah, so we're getting to be like 11:30.
We're still doing
I mean,
good.
We're gonna close it up in the next like 5-10 minutes.
We're still doing good for time. So
yeah, while you bring that up,
we got.
I just wanted to say just some quick plugs for different things that I want people to look at. So there is. I did those like 6 little film review things the other day. I broke apart 3 different player films. I think I broke apart one of Coney's, one of Hamon Green's, one of someone else's, and then I did 3 of mine. I uploaded those on my YouTube channel, which it's the same as my gamer tag without the spaces. So just LLL Brooks LLL. And so go on my YouTube channel. There's like film review session. There's not too many videos on there, so you can't really miss those. So if you haven't watched those, might want to look at them to see us break some things apart, see if there's anything you could learn from.
Wow,
them.
this Airbnb is
Especially
pretty
if
nice,
you're-
man.
So if you're one of those higher level players, maybe reviewing the first one where we do some of the other player films, you might not get as much out of. But if you want to look at the ones I did reviewing some of mine, might be worth some time. Call out images. So for everyone, pretty standard for you to have to know the call outs for all the maps. And a while ago, I used PowerPoint to put all of the call out names on different parts of the maps. So if you don't know the call outs for all the HCS maps, please look at those. The link to those will be listed inside of, if you go in SVP Welcome, there'll be a link to all of our resources and different links for things. So you go in there. There's the call out images in there. There's some other videos. The other one I want to mention specifically are the jumps. So a while ago, I had a homework for some interested parts for all of the like popular jots on the different HCS maps. So it's worth looking at that document as well if to see if you kind of know all of the things on there. And that being said, I wrote the document at the time really like vaguely. So some of the things are worded kind of shitty. So if you're curious about what a certain jump is, just ask me. I'm planning to make like a video to accompany each of those at some point soon, hopefully. So look out for those, and then let me just note these last couple of things.
No, go ahead.
Was
go
it
ahead.
about the jumps?
It was more about the highlight reel if we had one or not.
No, we don't.
Oh yeah,
That's too
no, we didn't do that
bad.
for this one, but we would like to at some point. But recent coaching analysis discussions. So you saw me break down some things recently in coaching and analysis. Check it out. I broke apart a game that I was playing with Josh. We were duo queuing, so it was me and Josh, and then 2 randoms in HCS. So I just broke down the first 2 minutes of a game, what I did off the rip, and how we got like a really textbook flag cap. And then I also broke apart just a couple of like short clips on Empire strongholds talking about camo usage, basically. That was good.
Andy wants to know
And
about the
also-
montage that was supposed to be happening.
What happened?
I think in general we're just gonna try upping our production game a little bit. I finally decided to cave in, buy the Adobe software programs so I can edit at home instead of having to go to school to do everything.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start editing some mini montages for teams, players,
I'm
the
excited.
program in general. See how that goes. But so that being said, if anybody wants to help me find clips, because apparently this is a really hard thing to do, just
How about this?
just let me know. But
If you guys got clips, Brooks, you should make a channel where people just submit their clips just for this.
oh, so you mean like clips and screenshots?
Clips and screenshots?
No. But I
AKA,
mean strictly
complain
for
about my
like
back
him
problems.
editing though, without people chatting
Oh
in it
yeah,
at
I
all.
know.
And people can just put their clips in there, and Gary can just kind of go in.
I mean,
and grab 'em
historically,
all.
people were supposed to be sending it to Coney, and they did for like the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean I have
But there was-
clips. I just wanted to
I don't know.
have them
But
more
yeah.
concrete.
So that's the thing. I know that like Munchie has some ideas going into production stuff moving forward too. Munchie's been doing I mean, he casts like everything. He goes and he like streams his own gameplay, and he's like a Twitch affiliate and stuff now. And
Oh yeah,
taking it
he's
really seriously. I know he has some cool ideas.
he's getting
for,
pretty pop.
some
Stepping
of
up
his
his
streams
game.
moving forward.
His overlays are
So-
pretty nice too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And he's been doing beautiful graphic work recently too. Like he's helped me out.
I
with
saw
one
yours.
of
Yours
these
looks pretty
really-
nice.
Really nice ones for. Yeah. No, I'm freaking loving it, man. I just set up my overlays and I have it on there. Mystery and airy. Just got
I do have a question for you guys
this
though.
random-
While they're, I don't know. When I watch a Twitch stream, I don't get the whole like watching a person play the video game while the video game is being played. I'd rather watch the actual game rather than the person. And I don't know if that's
I mean,
a.
sometimes it's nice. I mean, that's why you don't want it to take up too much of the screen because you still want to see the game.
No, I'm just curious.
Oh.
Do you guys like watching
can
the
see their
actual person
reactions.
sit there?
I think. Yeah, I think
Depends-
it's
depends on what
Yeah,
I'm watching,
I'm not.
bro.
I
I
don't
think
know, man.
usually,
It's
yeah.
kind of creepy to me when I sit there and I'm like, what is this person doing? And I don't know. Just all it is like a blank stare at a screen more than half the time. It's like
It depends
Yeah,
on what you're
it's
watching
like-
for.
it-
You're watching.
you're cutting out.
you're
I
cutting
can't
out,
hear
but it's
you.
all right.
Oh my gosh! If you guys are watching to watch gameplay, it's more based on the gameplay, like a pro stream. If you're watching for the personalities, you're gonna.
But I
watch
think
for-
that's what it is. I mean, because if a lot of the ones I click on, there's no real personality. I go through those every once in a while, see who's playing Halo. But like there was one guy I jumped on, and he was actually kind of funny. I'm gonna say his name, Action Man. I think his name is. I
No,
think that
we're
I
not
think that
promoting
guy.
Action Man
I
on it.
think that guy is hilarious. I don't know why.
But
I don't know. It's just he starts freaking out, and it just makes me laugh. I'm just like, oh man, this guy is insane.
He's a character, man.
I'm sure it's all a
Yeah,
lot of it's for
believe it.
show, but he is funny. I'm sorry.
I sat behind that dude at Denver. He was interesting.
If
He
anyone
reminds
has
me
any like last minute questions in the chat, please go ahead and drop them because I think we're getting
definitely.
ready to
We got about 10
10
minutes.
One other thing that I really wanted to talk
Yeah.
go. We are gonna start holding like weekly.
You cut out again.
We
yeah.
are going to start weekly 8s and stuff if that all goes to plan.
Probably
So
Friday and Saturday nights because a lot of people are free. And even if we're not like doing something official where we announce, just like be frosty for messages because I know that like people have just been randomly like, hey, let's play 8s, and there have been a lot of 8s going on recently. It just happened,
I think
out of nowhere. So be on the lookout for those.
and a goal of mine is we're gonna try. So we're gonna try having like
Streaming
sanctioned.
eights?
Well, yeah, we could actually do the casting. I actually might start casting. If people are interested in. But another thing that I wanted to do was something that we did in that first SVP8s was where we played the game, then we had film review sessions like right after, and I think that can be beneficial. So if we have official
definitely.
program ones where we're ready to do that, and
Mhm.
people are interested in it, we'll have aids where we play a couple games, and then as a group we go back through the footage and we talk about what went on during that game. That's a good way for
Yeah,
you guys to get
what
some
we
film.
did, and what we did the other day, I think that one was like an official one. Okay, we're playing Eights this Saturday. Cody and I both went in there, and we went into spectator mode with 8 players, and then both of us just like watched on our own and like picked up notes, and we each stayed in the team's party, like pick up the comms too. And then at the end of each game, that we just had our notes that we shared with everyone. And that was nice too, because you didn't have to take the full time to review an entire film.
Yeah.
But some of the players were able to still pick up some things from that. So it's
Yeah,
a
I
different
think,
way to do it too.
quick, like, how should I say it? Like, if you're gonna do the notes and stuff like that, I think I was in that 8s. It wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good because Cody was he was pretty quick, and he was like, "Listen, Nate, you did this, you did this. You probably should be doing this and do that, and so on and so on." And it was quick, straight to the point. That's how I am. I like that. And then I think if there was anything that needed to be more involved in, I think taking that aside and saying, okay, well, we'll talk about this and work on it or whatever later. I like that though. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna try casting a couple and see.
You cut out.
Also,
again.
if anybody,
you gotta fix
we're
that.
gonna
mic,
try-
man.
Next time you should fix your mic because
Yeah.
it's not working.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe my shit isn't. But
I know that earlier you were talking about voting best headset, and clearly you're having issues. So.
well, it
So
looks
it's,
good though.
it's definitely between me and Brooks now.
That's all right. It looks good.
Oh man.
But
Even though
But-
I am kind of jealous, I do like the headsets rather than talking into a regular microphone. But it's all right.
But basically, we're gonna try casting. If anybody's interested in
Oh my God,
Jimmy.
he cut out again.
cutting out, I might as well just give up on my life, bro.
That's all right. He just left. Oh, he came back.
Yeah, and just a quick note, Cody put it here in the chat. You know, it's difficult to do like long-term type of investigation, like working on certain skills.
You know
through
what
that
you-
type
you
of
could
age
do,
where
though, I
have
mean,
that instant-
You go over films and you
yeah,
do
just take it for what it's worth.
you do film reviews anyway. So I mean, maybe one of those things you could do is if you have the time and after you're done with the 8s, you take all your notes, and then maybe if you want to elaborate on more things, you can just do it on a on your own little stream, you know, and or while you're in spectator mode, maybe during the game when you're streaming it, record it and start saying things as they're going on and talk about it as to what we're doing, and then maybe add your own a little
This
bit
can
more stuff to
also
it.
all take place after the 8s has happened, and people that want to stick around to go over film can stick around and go over film.
Yeah,
You can still
exactly.
do the notes and stuff, and you can go more in depth with the other people. There's a lot of things that we can try out, and we'll definitely try those things out, get some feedback from you guys, and make it the best possible way for you guys to have the best possible experience. So guys, wrap this up. 2v2 tournament, December 2nd. Please come on by for that. Am I cutting out anymore?
No,
I have
you're
no
good.
idea.
You're good. You're
No,
good.
no, you're good.
I'm good. 2v2 tournaments happening. We're gonna be discussing some more program shakeups. You know, maybe our structure might be changing, stuff like that. So keep an eye on that. We're gonna ask for feedback, how you guys think about that. We should have stuff going around for things like that. We had a really good time with you guys season 1. It went really smooth compared to how it could have gone. We're really happy with how everything went. Things are going to change from the feedback that you guys gave us, whether it be teams shaking up or other things like that. So once again, be on the lookout. We're going to be very excited to see how this comes to fruition. But other than that, guys, I mean, if you have any other questions for us, always like, we're always free to feedback. Send us a message on Discord. Try being, and like, this is a great opportunity for you guys to be involved with other people playing Halo that are similar minded and to make really good lasting friendships. Like, you guys aren't going to be in this program for the rest of your life, so try your best to talk to people in the program, make some friends, and to really either become a better Halo player or become a better person. That's our goals here. If you guys have any last words, I think that's what I plan to end it on.
We got like I think another 2 minutes before we end this. So anybody in the
No,
chat
I
want to ask any
disagree. I have
questions?
plans.
I disagree. Brooks is trying to get
Brooks,
to
you
some
can bounce. I'll
guy's
answer-
house. We know, but
He's just trying to get a ride to a grocery store again. That's all it is.
yeah, right.
All these euphemisms.
I can't look at the deleted message.
Yeah,
No, okay.
I don't know who that was. I just
Someone got the band hammer.
it doesn't matter. But
GGWP boy.
You guys are lovely. Cue the out cue music.
all right.
Ba, 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 ba.
Any recommendations?
Jaden Smith's new album.
Jaden Smith, like Will
Dude,
Smith's son?
Jaden Smith's new album is litty. It is actually really good, and you guys should go check it out because it is actually really well produced and it's actually really good. His other stuff has been a joke, but it's really, really good.
You want me to go
His
out
new
on that?
album.
I'll go out on that right now.
Yeah, do L.
L,
Yeah, L.
like the letter L.
Yeah.
Like the letter.
Well, you don't know. I mean, it could be EL.
He had the first four letters of the track is the first four tracks is BLUE, and then the songs are all about blue, but L is a little bit lit.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave before the outro because I gotta go. So I'll talk
Bye,
to you
bro.
guys later. Bye, guys.
That's actually kind of good out cue music, bro. Feel that? Ooh, 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 ooh.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys on the Halo.
I'm gonna do film session with my with my team. So
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, SVP program. I think it's actually the website's svprogram.org. You can always join us on the Discord if you want to join. I think isn't there a form or something they have to fill out?
Oh, go to our website. We have a website, svprogram.org. Please go there.
There
If
you
you wanna,
go.
if you saw this, want to join the program, there's a site for that. Everything. There's a lot of good information on the website that we never get enough people going to. svprogram.org.
Thank you, sir.
Please go to the website. It is a very good resource for you guys to use. If you have questions, it can usually be answered on the website. And get on in that Discord. Always talk. Always stay classy, everyone. Please.
Later, guys.